Welcome back to Bread and Butter, where we're serving up the basics for Hearthstone Improvement. This is episode 166, and I'm joined as always, if not late, by Pylet. Pylet, how are you tonight?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. We have another amazing guest. Our streak of guests just continues to be 100%. We have Educated Collins this week. Educated Collins, how are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm doing particularly well. Happy to be here. Hope you guys are doing fantastic.
So I don't think I had this in the interview, so I wanted to ask, where did the name Educated Collins come from?
It came because I liked playing like social games where you have to create a name, and I'm too simplistic with my naming capability, so I put Collins, and then Collins was taken. So then I wanted some adjective on top, and I didn't want darkness Collins or whatever, or some negative connotation, smelly, whatever. So I put educated. I thought that was something good to be as you're growing up, and picked that for that particular game. And then it stuck. I was like, people just start calling you educated, right? As you're, interacting with people, and you're like, oh, I like that name. So you just keep it going. So that's kind of how that name formed.
That is far better than a lot of the names I've seen within many video games. So Educated Collins, what have you been doing inside of Hearthstone lately?
Well, I've been playing mostly duos. I've been liking that mode. It's like pretty fun, especially when you have like a good teammate. Sometimes they just carry you, and you don't really have to worry too much about the game. Sometimes I did recently play some randoms for like a stream or so, and some of it was good. Sometimes I didn't really know what they're doing, but Battlegrounds has been my main game since it's basically came out. It's just been really good compared to Arena, which I used to do. So basically been playing that when I have the time.
Yeah, I think I also have the same thing, but I have no idea what my duo's partner is doing.
Same.
Sometimes.
Pylet and I play duos a few times a week usually. It's a lot of fun. Pylet, what have you been doing inside of Hearthstone?
Not a whole lot. Played, as you just kind of mentioned, we played a couple BG duos with the new season. I got in a couple solo queues. Today I almost got demons going, where I got some chop buffs. I got the fodders going to where I had 3 shops in a row where when I rolled it was just all fodder minions. And I hit the one that I think it's a tier 6 that when a demon consumes a minion in the shop, buff the tavern for that turn. So I hit that. I always had 7 minions in the shop. I was double end a turn with Felbat and Enforcers, but I just got it too late. And ended up I lost a couple low rolls. The last one got I think I tied for 4th or something. In standard, I've been struggling. I like a good amount of decks in the meta. I just can't win with them this past week. I just kind of feel like I'm running my head against the wall. I don't think I'm playing terribly. I know I'm not playing my best. I know I had a lot of days where I was just tired and not super focused, but I don't feel like I'm playing terribly, but I'm still at a 35% win rate for the past 2 weeks and just kind of slogging through. I know our patron and teammate on THL, Joltsy, was talking about the same thing where he's just losing with everything that he tries. So just kind of in a little bit of a funk.
Well, it's kind of weird because I would say Joltik hasn't lost everything, because this week we are giving away not 1 but 2 Battleground season passes to patrons, and the winners were Joltik and Warmac. So congratulations, guys. I will get those codes out to you. Thank you. Those came from Blizzard, as we are obliged to say. But thank you very much, Team 5, for those codes. And congratulations. Sorry I didn't get them to you the week before. I hope you didn't buy them. If you bought them already and you'd rather give them to another patron, let me know. We'll take care of it. Or you want to give it to your best friend, that's fine too. They're yours. Congratulations. I had the opportunity so I won my first 2 series with my first 2 matches in THL the last 2 weeks. And so this week I said, you know what, I'm going to try to actually prepare, because the first 2 weeks I just winged it. So this week I went and I said, all right, let's look at my opponents. I did the scouting report, and you pull it up in THL and it shows you what they've played every week, but they only played last week. So only played week 2. And so I looked at their lineup And I said, we were playing it, like we were supposed to play on Thursday, but he's like, hey, can you play on Wednesday? And I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. So I'm like, maybe they're not going to be prepared. So maybe they're just going to roll over the same lineup or something similar. So I went up and I lined everything up and I matched up all greens. So I had greens, like, so I had a positive win rate against all the decks. So I picked some things. One of the decks I picked was a Burn Mage that Pylet has been trying to have work that has not gone well for him.
It went okay for a while.
Yeah. So I took it onto ladder, and I think I pretty much went like 12-0 with it, or something along those lines, maybe 11-1 or something like that. It was insane how much we were winning. I won my THL matchup with that deck, but then I lost the next 3 with the other decks, and we made a couple of mistakes, but we also got pretty high rolled on a couple things, and our opponent played well, but like, it didn't help that 2 games we lost to generated Saladrosils that cost, I think, 6 mana in both instances. That just didn't help out, especially when they already had Wicker Fang down, but that's fine. It felt really good that Pylet was yelling because I was winning with the deck that he wanted to make work and it wasn't working.
Hurt my heart so much.
But so I've kind of played a little bit less of the Druid that I've been playing the last couple weeks, my homebrew. And because I feel like I just had to make Legend. So we did half of it with the Mage, and then we did half of it with Herald Death Knight. And that deck is super fun. And I have been winning at an insane clip with it. I think I have a 70% win rate with it. So I'm going to keep playing it and enjoy it. But Mr. Collins, what have you been doing outside of the game?
I do want to respond to some of the stuff you said. First thing,
sure.
Like I don't have too much standard experience since past like the first couple of seasons, but I do play Arena still from time to time. And I have noticed like a lot of my
Oops.
Oh, he's gone again.
He's gone again. I'm gonna have some editing to do this week. We have a gremlin. This might happen a couple times.
Yep.
DC'd again. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
But a lot of my win conditions have just been generating win conditions or generating my like the big bombs. And I do wonder like how that translates to standard, if that is like an experience that you have where you're doing stuff and then they generate like a bomb. You're like, oh, how do I deal with that?
That's just
I have a deck
right
for you. No, that's Druid. That is Corona Druid. That is my deck.
Okay, the good deck is the rogue deck.
Shut up.
I'm not saying that I want to play a deck that generates my win conditions. I'm just saying I have in Arena, that's been my experience, and I don't know if I like it. I want to know what my opponent has or could do so I can deal with it. But when they can generate a ton of options that I can't play around, that's hard for me to like plan. Like, oh, I'll save my removal for their big bomb, but then if they generate 3 big bombs in the course of the match, then it's hard to like, oh, I can't really play around this. So I'll just, use my removal whenever.
I could see that in Arena with, I don't know what sets exactly are in Arena, but I'm sure that, Rogue, a little bit of Druid, a little bit of Priest, like all those have some high generation.
Yeah. I mean, they all do. They all do nowadays.
No, it's just funny because I've been playing a deck that I'm trying to, like, I built a deck and I'm trying to make it better. And obviously it's not the best deck, but it's been fun. It's been an experience. But basically you play this card called Azhar's Triumph that generates 5 minions that cost 8 or more and shuffle them into your deck but double their stats.
Ooh.
So it is a lot of fun. It is a I don't know if it's Timmy or Johnny, but it's one of those decks. I've been calling it Timmy decks with Tito, but I'm probably wrong about what the actual definition is. But okay, so what have you been doing outside of Hearthstone?
I had another thing. So you guys did talk about giving away season pass codes, and I do have 2 left over. If you guys want to throw another giveaway or whatever you do, I could send 2 your way again. That's
sure.
A little surprise for the viewers or whatever.
Fantastic. So I'm gonna give well, let's go ahead and give away one in chat. So I'll take care of that in a second. Right. And then I'll figure out how to give that last one away probably before the end of the show.
All right, sounds good.
So
I sent it your way. So.
Compliments
to Blizzard for sending the code, of course, but feel free to have
So when I put Pylet or educated columns on a monologue, I'll go and I'll deal with getting them set up in the thing. Okay. I like you because I like you already because most of the time when we have guests on, we'd be like, "Hey, so what have you been doing in Hearthstone?" Playing Priest. So you talk, and I like talk.
Yeah, you got a yapper, sadly. I only yap when I'm knowledgeable about the things. When you're talking about games, so it's like, okay, I can yap and yap about that. But you did ask the real question before I sidetracked all of it. Was what was I doing outside of Hearthstone? And I've been mostly doing, I guess, two main things. So first, it was the new pre-release for Magic. Since Final Fantasy came out, I've been jumping back into Magic. So I've been doing some Friday night drafts whenever, and then pre-release, I always try to get one or two pre-releases, and those usually go well for me. Not that that's a surprise too much. You know, I do play a ton of card games and stuff, but got like some 5.0s, and so. Nice. And then also been playing Slay the Spire too. That came out. That's been really fun. There's a lot of new classes, new cards to enjoy. So, you know, Ascensions to climb. So I've been doing that. So that's been like my two main things.
Just curious, do you play Hades 2?
No, I have not played Hades 2. I do hear good things about it, but you know, I've watched it. That's the most I've done. So I haven't played it.
Well, just curious, could we maybe talking about that on a special bonus episode in the future? Just to put that out there. Pylet, okay. What have you been doing outside of the game?
So outside of the game, the less fun things I can't remember if I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, but I've had a dead pine tree in my backyard that I thought for sure when we had the awful winds and storms like a month ago was going to be finally taken out because we had that full day of like 50-mile-an-hour winds for 12 hours or whatever, and it still stood, but it definitely broke the roots because I went out and mowed last week and I saw that it was sticking up out of the ground a little bit, and then some random gust of wind last Sunday night finally took it down. Didn't take anything else down with it, but now I've got a tree to clean up. My dad and I were trying to work on it, but his chainsaw that he had died and wasn't working well enough, so we have the limbs taken care of. There's still just the big trunk sitting in the backyard, but it's gone. Got some more stuff to do. We were kind of making a plan of, we can go do these things next when one or both of us has time finally. So got that taken care of. Finally finished the main story of Pokemon Legends ZA. Decent game. It's, I like the Legends games. They're very different. I still like the old school Pokemon, but it's different enough to be entertaining. This one drug on for a little bit for a while. It's a little bit too, point A, point B for a little bit, but still different enough. I like that they use these games to experiment with some different things, especially they totally changed all the battle systems. And then the reason we started late today, I played 2 Lorcana set champs this weekend. First time that I've had a chance to play since last set champs and pre-release because I've been crazy busy, and we have a decent number of people in my area who play, but not a lot that can make it regularly to like weekly league play, and then I can't make it half the time anyway, so haven't played anything. So yesterday took the green purple burn deck that I played last set chance because there's a couple good cards I was able to swap in. It did not line up very well into the meta. I was hoping that people would play. There's a couple control decks that have really spiked up, and the burn decks do really good into that. That is not what I saw yesterday. I saw a ton of mid-range and a ton of steel decks, which just blew everything up and made me miserable. So I went 2-2 because I lost my first 2 very badly and then ran into everyone else who was losing and did fine against them. So went 2-2, just missed the top 8 promo there. I think I got 10th or something like that. And then today went to one where we had 15 people, changed it up and took the Tito approach of let's grab a deck that I know is good and I've never played before. I've played similar speeds of decks. I know how the deck plays because I played against it a bunch. I did take a different variation on it because I was missing a couple of the bigger, more expensive cards. So I tweaked a couple things. I threw in one spicy card that did not do anything. It's going to come out of the deck. It was an extra card. It was a 61st card anyways when you have to have a minimum of 60. But it went well. I went 3-1. So I made not only top 8 to get the promo or the foil Tinkerbell for those of you watching stream. But I made my first top 4 cut as well, to where there are a few enough people that cut to top 4. So I got to play for that. Won a mirror match in the semifinals on the draw, which was not expected because that was very miserable to try to come back from, but I had a big swing, and then ended up playing in the final against this person that I lost to in the second round, and took him to 3 games, could not cross the finish line. I think if I hit a card, because for Lorcana, for those of you who haven't played, every card on the cost that has a symbol saying if you can ink it or not, and the ink is how you pay mana for your cards. So it's not like you're generating mana from other stuff or from lands or however Magic works, because I haven't played Magic. But you're able to ink those cards, and that's your resources. I had my 6 cost. That's the only one that I run in the deck that I need, that probably could have gotten me back into the game, because at the end of the turn it would have drawn me up to 2. But also, if you have more than 2, you discard down to 2, and he was drawing a lot. But I drew an uninkable card with 5 ink. So I sat there, I'm like, I'll pass a turn. Maybe I can wait. And then I couldn't wait. And I think I should have. I think I might have been able to wait it out because he wasn't winning fast. But we'll take it. So didn't get the playmat, which was okay. I'm not overly concerned with the Tinkerbell playmat. It'd be cool to win one. But it was a good time. A lot of different decks. I was very surprised after yesterday. I saw like everyone was playing the same 3, and then the rest of us losing were playing other decks. I think between 15 people there were 9 or 10 different archetypes. It was very interesting. I've not seen that for a little bit, so it was fun.
Awesome. And this weekend for me, it's my kid is turning 12. My youngest is turning 12 tomorrow. So we took him to the Grateful Lodge, which, is fine. I don't really love the place, but it's something the kids like, and it's water park, and we do the magic thing with this magic quest where you go around. You walk a lot. I walked between walking the dogs before I left and doing the magic quest thing. I got almost 30,000 steps. So we really got our steps in yesterday. That was good. Went in the hot tub today. That was kind of nice. Took a kind of a chill day to get out of there, and then came back home and was on time for the podcast. But no, that's been about it. So Pylet, do we have any news this week?
I forgot. I'm gonna derail. We're all gonna take our turn derailing. I was gonna ask Collins, is this Magic set one that people are really hyped about? Because there is a Magic pre-release happening the same time as our set champs today, and they filled up like 2 entire rooms. There are so many people there.
I would say this has been the most I've seen in a pre-release since I've came back. And I would say like Final Fantasy was like number 2, which is what brought me back, and this one was like up to that level. So I think this has been like the most hype pre-release I've ever seen, since I've come back. So it makes sense that it filled up a room.
Yeah, the store was packed today.
They had to get a new table because there was too many people where I went. Yeah,
they had to go. I think they went and purchased more folding chairs. We ran out of chairs between all the events happening today. It was insane. So, anyways, news. We did get the 35.2 patch. We talked about the BG's update last week, so we won't go through that much again because we had all of the kind of preview for that, I believe. But that is released. We have a new event going on until May 5th with Battle in the Firelands, which also includes 3 new cards for Standard.
Oh no!
That I wish the news article said what it was, so I'm going to try to remember off the top of my head. We have a 4-mana Warlock card that discards a card and then discards a card in 3 turns, and when it discards, you resummon it. Something like that. I could look it up so I can actually know what I'm saying. Give me just a second. Kind of forgot their new cards. Destructive Phoenix, Battlecry, choose a card in your hand to set on fire in 3 turns, discard it, and summon a copy of this. It's a 4-mana 5/5 elemental beast. Warrior, got a 3-mana 4/3 elemental beast, Baneful Blazer, fire. Battlecry, if you played a fire spell this turn, destroy a minion. And a 6-mana 7/6 elemental neutral, Primordial Lord, Battlecry, get a random colossal minion from the past. The class cards are on the first tier of the track. The neutral is on like the second tier that most people are just kind of getting to if you play regularly. Then there are golden versions, a few packs, a Sulfurous coin, and a Firelance Malfurion hero skin. Tito, any thoughts on the new cards before I kind of move on?
I have not seen a ton of them yet. I do want to find a way to make the one that summons or gives you a colossal from the past back, because those are some of my favorite cards. I did generate a Leviathan from another thing, which probably wasn't the right choice, but I still snap picked it anyway because, yeah, Leviathan. But yeah, no, I like that they're doing this. The only thing I don't like is that if you miss the event, you still can get the cards, but like they make you wait until you get to the next point patch, and then you get it automatically if you in your first pack. Where after the event, they should just let you craft it or something, or something. But I guess the technology's not there yet, or something. But so that's the only problem is like, hey, it sets up a potential position. If I went on vacation for a week and I came back, I can now not play a card that might be meta. Like there's that neutral spell that is out there that
Sands of
it's
Time.
Sands of Time, and that's become a thing where it's like people can't play it until this patch, so they can play it now. If they buy it now, they have to get a pack, right? So, but the fact that there is a way that there is a card that you cannot get if you weren't in the event and all that, it's just kind of weird. So I get that if they do that with cosmetics or something, but with a card, it's kind of just strange. So again, usually not that big of a deal. Even though it's in decks, it's in a meta deck, it's not really like the glue that holds the deck together. You can easily find something to replace it with, but it's just a precedent that's kind of strange. I'm hoping they kind of figure a better way to deal with that.
Yeah, they have, at least when they've done that, it's been some of the month-long events rather than the week-long events. Seems like week-long are always just cosmetic or packs. The longer ones, because this one goes April 14th and May 5th, to where you should in, was it 3 weeks?
Yeah, 3 or so.
In 3 weeks, be able to complete a weekly to get the 2 class cards. So they have been at least kind of more forgiving with that. I think for the Sands of Time one, I missed the golden versions because I didn't have time to play. I got the regular, but I didn't make it up to the golden version. So we'll see. It is a balancing act, especially now that they said that they're taking out the 10 filler neutrals from the main set because they're dropping more event cards and plan to continue to drop more event cards, and they want them to be somewhat impactful. If they do kind of make sure, hey, let's make sure that people easily can get these if they're playing during this time.
And it's also, you got to remember, if you are listening to this podcast, or you are us, or somebody like us, you play a lot. So you probably have at least a collection. If not a collection, you know how to play free to play or whatever like that. It's so weird when we're playing these and it's like a month in and they're like, here's a rare. Like, yeah, I got all those. Here's
yeah.
It's just like I already have the set, so it's just like, and we're coming from a place of privilege or whatever like that. But at the same point, I wonder how many people. It's probably like 80% of people, 90% of people that they get these and like, oh, good, I get more cards. But for like us, it's kind of like oh, great. We just get the pop up that says, do you want to re-roll? It's like, it doesn't matter. I have them all. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So we had those. We currently have going on a Heroic Tavern Brawl, which I don't think we knew about until the patch notes came out that it was coming up. And this is a little bit earlier than they normally put these out. Normally it's like the week before the 0.4 patch. So standard thing goes for that. That is a enter at your own risk, especially if you're jumping in here the second half of it. It is 1,000 gold, 12 wins or 3 losses. The rewards look really big for those 12 wins. Most people will not end up there, and the real reward is the 12-win screenshot that you get to put on social media and say, I did it. But yeah, play at your own risk. I did one. I took Face Hunter. I low rolled / got high rolled a couple games, went like 4-3. It is what it is. I should have did better, but didn't. I might do one more run. We'll see. They do have dual class Tavern Brawl also coming up at the end of this month, April 29th to May 1st. They're doing another dual class. Build a deck with cards from any 2 classes from any standard expansion. I know that was a big hit when that happened last time. BG's track refresh. There's a new Dark Moon Fair. There's still the regular free packs and BattleNet shop offers. So if you're not checking those, be sure to. They're doing packs. This past week was a golden pack. So go claim those, and then a whole bunch of bug fixes and game improvements. Nothing too much of note that I saw, other than I think the 2 biggest ones would be for Arena. When a run is retired due to a ban card, the prompt now clearly shows that you do get your tickets back. You always did, but it didn't clearly tell you were getting your tickets refunded when they force your run to end because of a ban. And they also fixed a bug where poison effects did not trigger after applying a buff from avatar form. So I believe that is the Shaman Fabled spell that I think, since that is dealing the 2 damage, the poison was supposed to go on that 2 damage as well, and it was not, and that should be fixed now. Other than that, a ton of visual bugs fixes.
I'm gonna disagree with you. The reward isn't the 12 point screenshot. It's the friends you made along the way.
Mm-hmm.
You mean the enemies? They friend you and make some comments.
So
that was last week.
I think we already talked about that last week. That was last week's episode. I had someone. This is one of my favorite things, because someone yelled at me. Someone said, "Really nasty." They switched their account so they didn't get banned on their account. They have a flame account that they've made, and they got on. They were blah 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 blah, and they said they basically like, you went on the internet and got this deck and you blah blah blah. I said, no, I put this deck on the internet. Thank you very much. And he's like, well, you're even worse. And he said it with a little more gusto than that.
There are a lot of blurred out words when Tito sent it to me.
Yeah, well, I was trying to be polite. But we also, speaking of blurred out things, things are happening right now.
Yes. If you have noticed that you have been playing the same Your Opponent for the past week, there has been a weird bug with names and streamer mode, and
that
I don't
affected me too.
Fully get what's happened. I just know it started with the patch, and every time you went in, it would show your opponent as just your opponent, like you were in streamer mode. But then for the first day or so, sometimes it would show your full name, your battle account name. For you, it was not showing it to your opponent. However, if you are streaming, it would show there. So people were having to go into streamer mode. There's a lot of issues then because of that, and trying to invite people to duos and to friendly matches. They do have the legal name issue being shown, or the legal name being shown issue fixed. I'm still seeing your opponent when I'm in standard, but it seems like it's showing in battlegrounds and duos, it's showing the actual names again. So they're slowly kind of making their way through this, but it's I don't know what button got hit to break that, but something broke it.
Yeah, that happened to me when I was streaming duos earlier this week, where I was playing and then it was showing my name, and I was like, wait, what's going on? And it sucks because if you're streaming, right, like it's everyone just sees it, right, and you can't really change it. So I went into the settings, and there's like a real ID setting in the setting, and that was checked on. I don't think I've ever turned it on, but it was checked on. I turned it off, crashed my game. I logged back in. I got my name back to my original, And then I played my next game and it was my real name again. And I checked again, my real ID is off. So I'm like, what's going on? So that was just I don't know what they're doing there.
I spent like an hour confused because I've had it pop on to streamer mode before by accident. Probably when I'm trying to take a screenshot and I actually hit Control-Shift-S, which is how you get into streamer mode.
Yeah.
And there really needs to be like an indication whether you're not in streamer mode, because it's like, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, I didn't see a toggle and I kept like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden my name popped up. It's like, okay, this is cool. So you have to move your camera over to cover your name and all that.
I didn't do that. That did not occur to me. Yeah.
We just obfuscate a little bit, especially when they started posting things, I don't know, like my social security number, my my date of birth, my credit cards. We had to just hide all that. But yeah, no, it's definitely a weird bug. They have your name, like, or your opponent's name, like, so if you have HS Replay and you look at your replays, I don't know if it's only if you have premium or not, but you get the name of your opponent. So you can see, like, I can go back and see who I've played against and all that to make sure that I, you know, if I happen to accidentally beat, I don't know, Brian Kibler, I could have seen it, but yeah, no, it's a weird bug. I know they're working on it. I know it's like all hands on deck because I messaged Alkali on Friday about something. I was like, hey, and she's like, yeah. And she answered me real quick, and she's like, yeah, I'll get back to you. We're dealing with the name thing. I'm like, great. So I hope they figured that out. I'm sure that's not what they were looking for. I'm sure on the night that Battlegrounds was released, they didn't want people not being able to queue up with friends. These things happen. This is an old client. Whatever, you know, just be patient. Put your camera over your name if you're a streamer, and you'll be fine.
Good advice.
Is there any other news, Pylet?
I was just glancing through tracked issues. Couple other little things that do say that there are some players still having issues with being unable to invite friends to play Battlegrounds or spectate. Sounds like changing your BNet status to online and restarting the client has solved the issue temporarily for some players, so that's something worth trying. So still having non-friends appear as your opponents. Overload cards do not visually show the lock crystals on the mana tray on mobile, so be aware of that if you're playing overload cards. A couple other little weird things here and there.
Yeah, that's strange. I mean, the whole thing's strange. What do you got?
This patch, which it's a big patch, so it'd be the one to expect it, but not expecting weird things like this to break. I expect things to break on a 0.2 patch. I don't expect these things to break.
The one thing is, so Collins, you don't play really standard at all, right?
No, not the thing I do.
So Pylet, what do you think of the meta right now? Like right now, we've only had one patch. We've already in the the 0.2 patch. We've only had one battle balance patch. How are you feeling about the meta?
When I'm playing salty because I can't win. It's not the meta's fault though. So
it is the meta's fault.
I want to blame it. I want to blame. I think the algorithm is after me because I keep queuing into my bad matchups. But it's. I think it's in a good spot. There's variety. Considering I keep running into things that I'm not expecting. Demon Hunter probably needs a nudge. Definitely probably needs a nudge. And then there might be
which direction?
Down. Demon Hunter's green against everything but big decks. Like the only thing keeping it in check is Druid and Egg. So but I don't think we need to, like, there's nothing that needs the nerf bat taken to it. There's no imbue druids issues going around. So I think that it's in a good spot to where they're in a good spot to where they can take their time to then have a good patch for that to kind of set us up as the halfway point to whatever we're getting with the 0.4 patch, since it's not a mini set. I'm assuming it's whatever classes we get, but also have enough time to get some BG's info before they do that as well.
Yeah, I've been pretty happy with the patch right the meta right now. Like there are things that bother me particularly, but I don't feel anything's egregious. Like I saw something Jeanbray post that people are complaining that dark gifts need to be nerfed. Just like what? No. This everything's fine. It's like if you gotta touch anything, probably the Paladin Shadow card. And maybe the Slither Drake. The 6/8 elusive cost 4.
That already got
those
hit.
Are the two cards. Yeah, it already got hit, and maybe it needs to be tweaked a little more. But if like those are the two, like I would say that if you're going to do anything, like if you had to pick two cards, those are my two picks. But I don't even really feel like they're that big of a deal. I think if you're going to do anything, it's time to buff some things. Like I don't know I can't complain about anything. There's no Ziliax to complain about. There's no, Elise to complain about. She's there, but there's nothing to complain about. You're usually happy. You're like, oh, you're playing Elise? That just gives me a free turn. Thank you. So I don't know. It just feels like the meta's in a good place. There's lots of decks out there.
Yeah. Looking at HS Guru, like Warrior probably gets a nudge as well. At Legend, Dragon Warrior's 58% win rate and 13% popularity. Those are nerf-worthy numbers typically. The Aggro Paladin is not super popular for some reason, but it's at 58%. The End of Turn Paladin's also really strong, but I don't think it gets a nerf just because when it loses, it makes you want to delete the deck because you just don't do anything for the game. Outside of that, like the Demon Hunter, I think will, just because it's so consistent, so consistently strong this patch, and it and Dragon Warrior are holding their win rates at high Legend and popularity, so those probably will, but I think that they're just nudges.
Yeah, agreed. It's like but yeah, I think this is the best that they've ever had the meta after one patch in a long time. And I don't know, it's just like it's nice. It's nice that we're not worried about anything. And I don't mind them patching to shake things up. Like I don't feel like they have to, like, let's not take Luna's Pocket Galaxy and give it to reduces cost by 2. Let's not do something crazy like that. But buff something. Go ahead, make something interesting. What classes aren't good? Buff them a little bit. Don't buff Control Priest, please. But outside of that, do something. Like mix it up if you want to. But like the meta is fine right now. It's just a weird thing. Anyway, I wanted to get your thoughts on that because I'm seeing it. I'm like, I don't see what we have to complain about. And if you are if you are playing deck X and you lose to deck Y, and you see a lot of deck Y and you're losing with deck X, I get how you feel, but that's not that is a very narrow view. So you have to kind of play some more decks and kind of look at the meta as a whole. There will always be some rock paper scissors. There will always be that deck that will just crush your deck, and maybe you're playing the deck at the wrong time or whatever. But anyway, Pylet, what do you think about us getting to know our guest here?
Yeah.
All right. So, Mr. Educated Collins.
Hello.
How did you get started in gaming, and how did that lead you to Hearthstone?
How did I get started in gaming? I mean, I was a kid, and games were more fun than anything else at the time. So it was like, let me play some games. I have two brothers, actually, and we would just play. I would play with my two brothers in particular games, and there were some games they would beat me. There were some games I'd beat them, right? So I was usually good in the strategy type if I could think, or if it was like not time based or reaction based, had a big edge there. Or like racing games, I would lose. Fighting games, I was 50-50. I wouldn't say I was like horrible, but it wasn't like one sided either way. But in particular, I just liked playing games, and I was particularly good at strategy games. So I'd play like Yu-Gi-Oh at school or so. and we would play like this type of Yu-Gi-Oh where if you won, you get to take one of their cards. So
Well,
I have
anti.
yeah, I had like a bad deck, but I would win with it and then take their good cards, and eventually I had something strong, But like that kind of thing would happen, and so just had a lot of like gaming experiences while I was growing up. In terms of how I got into streaming, I it's weird. Actually, I was playing like at a school, and I was playing League of Legends for some no that wasn't it. But yeah, I was playing a game, and one of my friends would watch me play a game, right? And they were like, "Man, you would be good at streaming. You should stream." And I was just like, "I could." That was my response. So like that encouragement led me to be like, okay, let me start streaming and see what happens. So it was his name was Dexter actually. But he encouraged me to stream, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. And it went from there. So that was kind of how it started.
Dexter, a recent dad bringing his baby on vacation. We're seeing that. We're hoping to have him on the show at some point. I know he's not a big Hearthstone; he's more Snap now and whatnot. But it's always good to talk about people that used to play Hearthstone as well as people that played Hearthstone. So what's a pitch to people that have not seen? Okay.
Uh-oh.
I guess he doesn't want to answer that question. Okay, I'm not editing all this for the raw audio, so all you guys that listen to the raw audio, have fun, patrons, with this.
I don't know why it's crashing constantly, but I
I
assume you asked what the pitch was.
Yeah, so what's your elevator pitch for people to come and check out your stream?
That's a good question. I should have a stock study answer to, huh? People like your stream. Why do you suck? I mean, I just try to play the game with, a nice chill vibe. I used to play a ton of music that I enjoyed, but I've been experimenting with not having music just because, some people don't have the same musical taste that I do. But generally, it's a nice place, and I do try to respond to everyone else, but that's not necessarily a reason to watch a particular reason. I actually don't know. There's a ton of streamers to watch, and I'm not necessarily, gonna hit you in the head to watch me in particular. You could watch one, see a 10-minute clip, and then see if you like the vibes. But I'm not gonna push you or anything like.
I will give a better pitch than that. Collins is damn good at Hearthstone Battlegrounds. He's really, really good. So if you want to watch high level play, he's the place to go, and he's chill. So there you go.
Thank you.
Do you make any other content outside of Hearthstone? Outside of streaming?
Yeah, I do have a couple of YouTube channels that I've been working on per se, and people always say, "Oh, you got to make a TikTok too," but I've been very slow on that. But maybe I'll try doing that. Until this year, I never opened TikTok, so I didn't really know what it was about too much. But people always say it's something good to have. So, but I do have a couple YouTube channels of different games, that I play. So, that's usually the other content besides streaming.
I have no idea about TikTok. I'm slowly growing my YouTube. It's getting bigger. We're doing things. We're getting more success. I can't find any traction on TikTok.
TikTok's just for the kids, man. If you need that kid audience, you got to get the TikTok algorithm going for you. 10-second clips are all the rage there. That's the attention span they can handle.
I just got to be like, yo, 6'7", let's go.
Yeah, I mean, against the nice, you got to have two clips. You got to have you saying 6'7", then you got to have actual content that they're willing to watch. But you got to have the 6'7".
I could have somebody cutting wood on a board and hammering nails, and and I have the TikTok voice going, "I thought I had this game won." All right. So you also had a podcast.
We're joking, but I'm kind of serious.
Yeah. No. But like I have had, so my best videos so far have been pictures of my cats with music and some dad jokes.
So
So
you got to take that pictures of cats, but then have a second clip, of what you're trying to promote, but you need the cat and as the, the window so that you can grab people and then have your clips underneath that.
I might try that. And maybe I'll have Pylet's cats while I'm talking about something.
That's what I was imagining, by the way, when I was saying that. I was
so you used to have a podcast. How did that get started? What happened, and how did you enjoy that?
It started because me and Shady are like, spontaneous people, and we were like, oh, we should have a podcast, and we kind of came to that conclusion around the same time. So when it was suggested, I was like, I was thinking that too, and then we were like, and Shady's the type of person who's like, okay, we said we were gonna do one. Okay, what's the time? Next week? We're doing it next week, Collins? Are we doing it? And I'm just like, I guess we're doing it next week. So Shady's like, okay, you said you're gonna do it, and then boom, we did it. So like that's kind of how it worked, and it worked for quite a long time. But like recently, we stopped. I think last year, just because things got busy and there was like different priorities. Shady was like growing his YouTube and stuff like that, and I was like doing other stuff. So it was a little bit harder to meet at the frame because we're doing it weekly, which is can be pretty constant to talk about it. And I was making slides and everything, so it wasn't like just get together. It was like visual too, which took a while. So, but we did it, and it was a lot of fun. And there was a lot of good moments there, and it was a really nice way to catch up. I think because sometimes as streamers you get hectic, or you get things that a week can pass pretty quickly. But having like a day where you're like, okay, here's the day we're going to talk about what happened during a week, it was really nice.
Yep, I agree. I think it's really nice. And editing for YouTube is easy. Editing for other forms of audio is a pain in the butt. That's usually my Mondays, Sundays of recording. So completely understand. So did you like when the Battlegrounds started adding more things, like first started with Darkroom prizes and buddies and then other things? Or like did you like vanilla better? And what is your favorite thing they've added?
There's a little bit of bias because I was really good at vanilla, but I think that's not a fair rating, though. That's how people do rate their stuff. Whatever I was best at is the best method, like that kind of thing. But I do like them adding a lot of different like mechanics, because I think something that they learned or took away from was from TFT, because TFT would always have like these new set mechanics, and a lot of people did enjoy like, oh, this mechanic in TFT is really cool and I love it and I hope they bring it back, that kind of thing. And they were like, oh, that seems like a really cool idea, because sometimes it does get a little stale if every game's the same. And that was something that was happening a lot in like the original meta, where it was like figure out how to get the same, like especially when Amalgam was like a big part of BGs and Amalgam was in every game. It was basically, how do I get like 6 Amalgams on my board, every single game, brand into 6 Amalgams, and every, and that kind of stuff does feel a little bit hard to deal with, because you see your opponent, oh, they get an Amalgam and they take it all from the pool, and then you're like, oh, the game's over. And it's every game is the same, like, how do I make this, that kind of thing. And it's like, you get your 6 as an Amalgam, oh, you're sad, that kind of thing. But now, with all these new mechanics, there's more different ways to play. And with these trinkets and stuff, there are board states that you can not get ever unless you get like a specific hit here. So then you have these like moments or clips where people have these like crazy looking boards that can only happen once every like 30 or 50 games, and you're like, oh, that's really cool, I want to try to do that, right? I want to do that myself. And you have to play like 30, 50 games, right? And you have to know what you're doing to do that. So it gives that like aspiration of like, here's a cool idea or something I've seen, let me try that, or so I think it just makes for a more interesting game overall, just having all these extra options, and also gives like developers more tools to work with versus the simple knob of one power up, one power down, or one tier up, one tier down. So I like it overall.
So why do you think Lobby Legends failed? And what is your opinion that would have
Damn,
helped
that's a
Lobby Legends
hard
take off?
question, dude. You're hitting. Those are the hard questions of
We're
life.
journalists here, my friend.
Uh,
We're journalists. We can ask hard questions.
Lobby Legends was like a good endeavor with like a poor execution, I would say overall. Like I think there's still a lot of passion for tournament play and battlegrounds and a lot of passion for just seeing really good battlegrounds players like compete in a big tournament or a consistent way. I think in terms of Lobby Legends, there wasn't really there was two things. The promotion was a little bit rough, and it was also kind of hard to get the most interesting players always playing, since it wasn't invitational or at all. So um, you just have to always compete, and it was like pretty rigorous. And the even if you did make it, the qualifiers was very short, I would say. So sometimes you would just get unlucky and you wouldn't get there. So it was a little bit rough, but it's hard to get the traction without the star power, right? The people that you watch over and over. It's hard if they're not in the tournaments, and even if you were like the best in the world, it wasn't always guaranteed to that you'd make it to the past the qualifiers. I think you could get to the qualifiers pretty consistently, but like it was like 3 games, and if you don't win, like you're out of there. So um, it's tough to do. And then there wasn't too many production value. I think if you've seen a lot of the NetEase or like some of the Chinese tournaments and you've seen their production value, those really go hard. You could really tell they've spent a lot of time with that. But Lobby Legends didn't really have that type of effort. I think a lot of the resources went into the prize pool and not really the production behind the broadcast. Though, you would say, oh, they did put some effort, but I do think there was a lot of learnings to be done in terms of making sure that it was promoted and you had, you know, popular people like having a good chance or so. Like just having, a dog or, a crip at the time would have done a lot. Just like, oh, they're in there, even if that was for the qualifiers, having them participate there in some form would give like a massive boost. And then you could see them at least try. And then even if they don't make it to the finals or so, you would have that journey still that people could follow along. Like, oh, this person beat them, like how good are they really? Let's learn. And then you have a following. But a lot of times it was a lot of just people that they haven't seen before, not streamers, right? And because they're not streamers, they don't have good quality cameras or anything, right? So sometimes there would be no cameras for the people, which is really tough, right? If you're trying to have a storyline throughout the tournaments, if you can't see them or you can't interact, you don't get any interviews with them, or they're not speaking a language that you understand, right? There was just a lot of things that would have been nicer if there was a little bit more effort or care provided in the production side, because I think there's an audience for BG and high level tournaments. You can see a lot of the popular streamers in Hearthstone are BG players, right? So people do like watching PG players, but it was hard to translate some of that popularity into a consistent Lobby Legends format, I would say, even though the pricing was sufficient.
Yeah, so like having maybe a translator that was involved, maybe sending people cameras that they could use for the events.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the same thing that I used to love about the master stores. It's like that's how I found some streamers that I like storylines like Ant. Like it was like, where'd he come from out of nowhere? Eggo Waffles, whoever, so like that's how you kind of found some people and whatnot. Dog, he was in the first Grandmasters.
Yeah.
And then he was like, you know what? I'm out. I'm losing money on this. They were paying him to be in Grandmasters, and he was like, I'm losing money. So like why is this? So the whole thing is hard. It's like, and I really thought that once COVID hit, we were gonna find a way to like explode esports because everyone's home. Let's make it work because they can't go anywhere else. This is like the perfect time to figure out esports and whatever, but they never got there. So
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't necessarily related to Lobby Legends.
I'm sure Educated Collins had some wonderful things to say about that. I'm sure he'll be right back to talk about that. I can't believe how much editing I'm going to do tomorrow night.
It's not my fault this time.
I'm sure he'll be right back.
I should use a different browser, right? Because I am using Chrome, but it does seem to crash consistently.
Well, Chrome is usually fine. Like Chrome is like the recommended one, so I don't know.
Yeah, but I was gonna say not related to Lobby Legends, but they did take the transition from switching from like the Twitch broadcast to YouTube for their Masters tours, and that did drop the viewership.
That was horrible
for Hearthstone as a whole, right?
Yes.
So that kind of like decision from the higher ups, right? Because I don't think a lot of the people that were working on the broadcast was making those type of decisions, right? Did hurt, and I do think the direction has moved better nowadays, but they kind of took a large lump of money in the heydays of Hearthstone, and it never really recovered from that change, right? Because people do like sticking to their, what they know, right? And having to transition to a new, a new broadcasting partner, right, is just really tough, right? And Twitch has been pretty stable.
I still don't watch anything on YouTube. Like I watch videos, but like I don't watch streamers. I have to figure out how to
that is what I'm saying, right? Like even the dedicated people still wouldn't transition over. Yeah, so it was a poor decision, but probably something they would think about harder at with the hindsight, right? They would.
But it was like, I don't think it was a decision on Hearthstone. I think it was a decision at Blizzard because they were making Overwatch a deal for other things, and they just kind of threw in Hearthstone as like 5 years of Hearthstone, whatever, we don't care. And somebody made that decision and didn't care about the repercussions and just thought it was fine. So yeah. So what are some of your favorite comps of all time?
Favorite comps in Battlegrounds? I always like, first I like money comps. If you can get infinite money, that's always a fun. I know what I don't like. I don't like leapers. I know that's a fan favorite, but I'm gonna tell you that's a toxic comp that's hard to deal with, and you need to, especially in duos. This is very duo specific, but leapers is like almost unbeatable in duos if they go first, and you don't have a comp that can deal with it because they skill infinitely, and if you like don't blast them out of existence or whatever, right? Then they get infinite stats, and then your teammate auto loses, and it's just like how is this a fun experience? In terms of like dealing with this as a duo player, or it's like, and then even if you do build for leapers, if the comp switches and now you're not into that matchup, then you auto lose again, and it's just like, this isn't fair. I built to beat leapers, and then they switch me. I would lose the 25%, and then we lose anyways. So like that one I don't like, but that's not the question that you were asking. I just had to toss that in there. But I do like money comps. I do like fair comps, as in like getting a big stats, because like my teammate, he'll tell you what to play, what the love of the game is playing full scam, playing 12 poison cards in a row, where their base skill is summoning another poison base skill, which is summoning a venom guy, which gives another guy venom. Like that's the dream of the con, and I'm just like, I don't want to do that.
Well, you need a tunnel blaster to get rid of the divine shield first.
Divine shields are fine, that's how you deal with the poison. I'm okay with that. Cause you need an answer, but the 16 poison player, those are not for me. But my teammate does. That would probably be his favorite comps. But I do like just having, everything has 6,000 stats, because I played the game fairly. Played the game as it was intended, giving everything thousands of stats that you can't beat. Those are the types. Like if Caligos gave 10-10 per battle cry, I'd be playing that. I 10-10 just makes it balance.
It's about what Dragons needs.
Yeah. So Pylet and I, we play a lot of duos,
Yeah.
and we get frustrated with the fact that it's like the duos really get slow and laggy, especially when like you're like there's nothing like trying to play an APM comp when you're in like I can't even pick up a minion right now.
Yeah.
But outside of some technical issues that they've been running into recently, what are your thoughts on duos?
I mean, duos is a fun game mode, right? And just really enjoyable, and it's nice to see like the power of teamwork. If you like, but I do think they aren't designing the game for duos. Like they made that triple for 2, right? Hero in this in this meta, and you can just triple and then pass it to your team, and like that. I definitely feel like they should have known. Hey, that's busted as hell in duos, but they're just like whatever.
Banned duos sooner rather than later.
But we need to take advantage of that, Pylet.
We do.
So, it's a game mode that I think saw a lot of love initially, but is on the back foot in terms of like making sure the solo experience is good, and I have noticed like there aren't a ton of like duo representatives in like community in like forums that can directly talk to developers to make changes. There were some moments where I felt like I was the only one like giving them like changes for duos, like, hey, you gotta fix this, and they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and then they'll fix it, and I'm just like, is it just me? Just telling them, like, you gotta fix these.
No, it's not just you, it's us too.
Yeah, but...
like we have found some bugs. Like we had one bug. So there was one what was it? We were playing Cho'Gall because we're the only people like that play Cho'Gall.
Yeah.
Right.
And we got the anomaly to where the Time Warp Tavern was all golden minions, but you didn't get a triple reward from them. And it used up all of it used the Cho'Gall triggers. Because we played a golden minion, so the other person got a triple reward when we played it. And we're like, wait, what's happening? It's just like, we should have leveled. Stop. So it's a moment of panic, and then a moment of, was this supposed to work this way? Probably not.
That sounds powerful, actually.
It was. It was quite powerful if we knew that was going to happen.
The interaction, yeah. But you're true.
I message I forget his actual name, but like I have his Discord name. I'm not gonna put that out there. But a member from the team, and I was like, hey, this is happening. He's like, boy, that sure sounds like a bug. We're like, yeah, it sure does.
Yeah. So it's just hard to get the logs and stuff for duos. So you need like specifically to get to know what's happening and get the games or get the files from those games. So it's a lot tougher to find.
But yeah, I feel like I am surprised. I was surprised at how well duos kind of like took to and the fact that we can still get a game of duos without a long queue is amazing to me. It's like I am surprised at how well it is. But then again, every time they announce a new patch, I'm like, where's a duos hero?
Yeah.
Why don't we have a new duos hero or a new duos mechanic or something? And it's like, yeah, it was cool. Yes, we're being treated better than Twist. Sorry.
And mercenaries.
And Mercenaries is dead. Twist is just forgotten. Twist is just like we don't talk about Twist. Like, you don't talk about Twist because then we have to acknowledge that Twist exists.
Mercenaries is still in the game and in the shop. Technically, that might be more alive than Twist is.
But they at least announced that it was like it was in maintenance mode. Twist, they just were like, yeah, hey, Twist is coming again soon. 14 months later. I don't know. But anyway, I just want more duos. I want to like have another refresh for duos that like, hey, we have some heroes. I understand they just gave us Gen. Gen was had the perfect opportunity to be Duo's hero because he has the Worgen human thing. They could have made something with that. I don't know. But like it's just like I know Gia came on the team, right? And she was a big proponent of duos and whatnot. So I don't know. I just feel like duos is now kind of in like I feel like duos in kind of maintenance mode again. I want to see some like it seems like people are playing it enough that they should give it some more attention, but it probably doesn't make enough money
It
as one does.
it's just late in the development cycle because they have to focus on the solo stuff, and then if there's any bugs that show up, then they have to fix it for solo. So it just becomes hard to focus on the extra because all the solo stuff technically works for duos. So even if you're not making new content for duo specifically, you're technically making new content for duo. So it's very easy to say, hey, we've done something, let's put on the back foot and focus on the solo stuff, and then they run out of time to, because they are on a schedule, right? They have to make new content every couple of months, and then they also have to make patches every couple of weeks after. So they are on a time crunch, and if they run out of time, duos is the easy one to ignore, because if you make a duos patch and then there's no solo stuff, you're alienating more than half the audience. Where if you make a solos patch and there's no duos stuff, the duos people are like, okay, fine. Like,
sure, but if you're gonna like let's say they just added fodder and Chromo Drake, right? Like, okay, you're adding 2 new mechanics. Add a duos card.
Yeah,
maybe a hero.
I'm on your side, man. I'm on your side. I'm just telling you why they're not doing it. Yeah.
Oh no, I get it. And again, I am not upset with the developers on Team 5 because I know they are doing everything they can and whatnot. It's just, I'm saying from Blizzard proper, I want more duos because that's a mode that I like to play and I want to promote it. So I actually get to play against you a few times in the pre-release.
Okay.
And it's funny because like it's kind of like I don't think I've ever broken 8,000. So it's like I am a Battlegrounds player, and I'm like, oh great, I get to play against Dog, Collins, RDU. I'm like, yeah, I was proud that I didn't get any 8th places.
I did.
No 8th places. We'll talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about 8th places and stuff in a little bit. A couple more questions. Just 2 more questions to get through. What do you think BG's needs to do long term to keep the game fresh and exciting? And do you feel like they're already doing enough?
I would say like the most important thing is the bugs, like just the speed and the crash and stuff like that. Yeah. Especially in duos, you can really feel it. Where like I've had some games
speaking
where
of lag,
it takes like 3 seconds to do any action, which just kind of kills the late game. I think the early game usually has been pretty fine, but once you get to those,
this is gonna suck. I'm not editing this on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, I apologize, but I'm not going through all this on YouTube. For the 15 people that watch it, I appreciate you. I hope you enjoy this.
I was having a lovely conversation about you gotta deal with the bugs, and then it crashes, and then it's like my vibe, my mojo.
No. It was like you have to deal with the bugs. Drop. See, right there.
Yeah, but in terms of just some of the main issues, I do think that has been like the most pressing thing, because having like a crash or something can like ruin the vibe of like a run or like a gameplay session if you like lose out on a turn or lose out on whatever. I think that's like the most important thing. In terms of like the actual game mechanics, I think they've been doing pretty good with that. I don't, I think they have an idea of what people like to play, and they want to promote the stuff that people enjoy playing. So I do think the design team has a good handle on like figuring out what's going to be good for the player base. It's just hard to tackle the bugs, and new ones show up, right? And then some of the old ones don't get fixed, and it's hard to spend resources on you know, like you like this happens with a lot of games, but like they can't spend like a whole development cycle just fixing all the bugs, because first of all, they're not going to hit them all, and then second of all, you're not necessarily bringing the company money, right? So it's hard to argue like, hey, we need to waste hundreds or thousands or millions, whatever it costs in the development cycle, just fixing some bugs that people aren't really going to appreciate to the full extent, right? Like people just want new content, right? If you just spend time like not giving them new content, they're going to complain, right? And so it's really
they
hard.
don't have enough employees to cost that much.
They actually don't. They actually do not. Like I've been to their headquarters. I've talked to. I feel like they could use more people that actually fully work on Hearthstone and design and balance. So I actually think that is something that Blizzard isn't, in my opinion, allocating enough of their budget, and I think they could use like a development person or two.
And they could really dedicate a cycle to bug fixing. Like it's not like they keep up with necessarily standard, right? It's not like they have to have a new set every time. What if they're like, hey, we're bringing back buddies, we're bringing back trinkets, and we added like 10 new trinkets, whatever. They could do that again and just focus on bug fixing. And again, I am simplifying. I am a software developer. I know it's not that easy. I know the intricate things. I am saying this in a way of like, I think it could be done as like, hey, we're going to solve our technical debt this expansion, and meanwhile we're just, like, hey, they gave us an entire year of crap and standard and said, hey, no one said they were setting the power level, but that was the entire point. And like, hey, we gave you quests, but quests are going to suck, and we're okay with that. They went this whole thing in standard. They could do one season of Battlegrounds or a half a season of Battlegrounds and focus on bugs. I don't know.
Yeah, it's something for them to think about. And I hope they have been thinking about it. We don't know if necessarily things are going to change per se, but it would be cool to not have 3 or 4 minute lag spikes on every action in the late game in duos. That would be cool.
And it's funny. It's like, so I've talked to people about this on stream, off a stream, or whatever. Like people complain, like it's easy to be like, oh, LOL, indie company. Enterprise software going to billions of people or millions of people is hard.
Yeah.
And they have small teams, and it's like, should the bigger company of Blizzard, Microsoft be buying more employees to still make a profit, but make a better game? Yes. Are they going to? Probably not. So I have worked at big companies in telecom and with enterprise software, and I know that you put out big software patches. It doesn't matter how well you tested things and whatever. Once you get out in production, all things go to hell. So I understand completely where, like, especially the developers that work on this stuff. And the guy I was thinking about before was Mitchell. I always say, hey, Mitchell, we have a bug. He's like, yeah, that sounds like a bug. Like, yep, good. So, but I understand enterprise software, and a lot of people are just like, well, why doesn't it work? Because it's hard and all that. But I think they need more resources, and I think that they could add more resources because we throw a lot of money their way. And yeah, maybe they'll make a little less money if they have to hire, like, I don't know, maybe twice their team, but would they have a better game that more people would come for? I think so. So, final question. What's something people might find surprising about you?
I actually don't talk much outside of stream. Generally, I'm quiet, but it doesn't really super work in streaming, so you kind of have to talk and learn and figure out how to project your passions and your vibe out into the world. But generally I can sit down. I was gonna say read a book, but that's not really true. But that's like the vibe of someone who doesn't talk, just sitting in a corner reading their book. That's the vibe. It's not necessarily what I do, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
I just picture that meme now of like the guy in the corner being like, people don't even know I'm good at Battlegrounds.
That's true. That's legit true. Yeah. I'm playing my pre-release. I'm crushing them all, and they're like, when did you start playing? It's like a week ago. They're like, it's weird.
All right, so Pilot, you added a few things for the main topic, and then I added a bunch of things. So why
Yes,
don't you
I
start with your
appreciate that.
things, and then I'll get into my things.
Yes. So obviously we're going to talk about Battlegrounds. We'll talk a little bit about the new season, and then kind of jump into a overarching view of Battlegrounds. But what are kind of your early impressions here on the new season? Are there any minions or tribes in particular that have stood out for good or because they're bad?
I think in terms of good, like pirates, but like money, pirates is a weird spot because like pirates get money and then you get a ton of money and then you get out of pirates, and that's like the whole point. You make a ton of stat, you make a stat, and then you put it on a good minion. You know, you sell your put it on a good minion, and then you're like, okay, I play scam on the rest after I have my really good minion at the end or something like that. So it's always like weird, but like it's really strong to do that. But pirates play weird because like you think, because all the pirate support and trinkets are like, oh, play a bunch of pirates, you know, and then win with pirates, and then the real answer is like, just get a bunch of money, buff one thing, and then sell them all, and then play a scam, and you know, pump your good minion or something like that. So it's always interesting. I think shop buff's been pretty good. The new back-to-back card, like the one that
Yes.
scales, I think that's been a sleeper busted. Maybe not sleeper because people know it, but like that, like I didn't know that would be as busted as it is when
It's
I saw the card.
better than I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. But you just like, oh, I get 6 of them a turn, and then I play them 100 times or 3, you know, whatever it is, right? And that card has been like surprisingly crazy. So that's been like the sleeper. Ooh, that's crazy. But you know, elementals, beasts, cold boars, like those are all still like pretty strong as well. But that's not too surprising.
Yeah, that kind of matches what I felt for sure. Yeah, that back-to-back card. I was running. I don't remember what nonsense I had on board. I had just a bunch of junk and enough tavern spells to make it work in duos, and I kept getting back-to-back. And I'm like, this is scaling a lot quicker than I thought it was going to. Get that going a couple of times because it only costs 1. I'm pretty sure.
And the maybe not annoying thing, but the thing that can get frustrating is it's all neutrals, so it's in every game. Yeah. So you could just be like a back-to-back Bane and just play back-to-back every single game. You wouldn't like have a problem because like it's in every game and it's all neutrals, and you know, like, oh, just like give me the neutral card. And, you know, the teammate doesn't want it, right? Like because a lot of those cards you don't steal your teammate's comp if you're playing back-to-back. So you're just like, okay, just give me those 6 drops and then I'll win. So it's pretty interesting there. Because usually the strongest stuff, at least in duos, is like taking 2 parts of a different minion type and then putting them together to like have this super synergistic you know, combo piece. But like this is just a bunch of neutrals that don't require other support, and they just you just scale things to crazy. Like you make a gigantic cleave, you're happy, you know, or whatever it is.
Yeah. But kind of already talked about the new heroes a little bit to where Clocksworth is busted in duos. What are your thoughts on Tito? What are your thoughts on Gen?
I like Gen. Gen is fun. Gen is just a time warp hero power where you get a second hero power, but you get to pick 2 of them in a row so you can possibly get some synergy. He's just fun.
I've been offered Gen 3 out of 4 games I've played this season.
Wow.
So it is a little bit harder to use if you get like specific hero powers, or like you get 2 very contrasting ones on the very first pick, and then it's just like, well, I'll take this one and hope that the second one kind of complements it. Because like turn 4 is late enough to where it's just like, okay, I can like maybe make a plan with these hero powers that I get, but early enough where you don't have anything solidified yet. But if you've got like, oh, I've got this, I can turn into direction with this hero power now. So what are your thoughts on Gen so far?
Gen is okay. I think it looks cool, but then sometimes. So usually it reminds me of Finley, and where you choose one, right? But you get two. But with Finley, you can kind of see what your first shop is or what the vibe is, and then go from there. But getting two randomly, I still think it's pretty powerful and pretty good. So it's not like a bad hero, but it doesn't. You don't always get like synergistic types. So it can brick, but it's like a fun hero, and I think it's particularly strong. So I'm not sad to play the hero. So, and getting two hero powers as long as you get good ones is pretty busted. So I think you just take it when you can. Just doesn't always work.
Yeah, I think the best game that I had with him, I was able to take like a one passive on one that costs gold to where like I was able to take something super tempo heavy. I think I got Sylvanas. So I was able to have the 2 costs, get something that died, and I was able to take something super greedy with the second one and just be like, this is gonna get me through, and then this will pay off later. So I don't remember what they were, I'd have to look back. But that seemed to work okay.
I do want to mention that it's slightly worse in duos. So in solos, I think maybe you just take it every time because like 2 hero powers is better than 1. But in duos, a lot of times the best combos is like having 2 heroes that synergize together. And with Gen, you don't get that option, right? You don't get to, I have a Reno and I have a hero that can make a 6-drop instantly. Then I'll just have a 6-drop, make it golden, win the game. That kind of thing. With Gen, you don't really have that like turn 1 planning that with good duo partners you can do. So I think that's kind of what I was talking about, where it's a little bit weaker. But I do think if you don't have like any of those nuts combos, it's probably your best bet, because like at least you can hit a nuts combo by yourself. You don't even need your duo partner. So I still think it's probably just a very, very strong hero. But there are some times where you want the synergy turn 1.
Since you're talking about duos, I have to ask you a question. If you're offered the nameless one, you get a snap pick and let your opponent pick something else, right? You just be like, go, let's go. Nameless one, figure it out.
No, I look and say, hey, what are you playing? And then they'll say,
thank you.
Then I will say, I have the nameless one. And then they're like, oh, okay, I will think about you now.
No. See, okay, I know you're like a much, much better Battlegrounds player than me, but the entire point is,
much
nameless one,
nicer Battlegrounds player.
You take it and say, figure it out. Say, I took nameless one. You tell me what we're playing.
This is what Tito does to me.
I'm not playing my teammate's bad hero because he wants to play Scav. I'm only taking nameless one if he's playing something fun. So I disagree. Nameless one is there's 5 seconds left, and I guess his card is okay, and I don't want to play any of mine.
The problem is, I don't remember why we did this. It's probably because it was the first game with the nameless one, and when it got released, we did nameless one AFK and got first, and it wasn't even close.
Yeah, I think that's actually quite good.
That was before AFK got buffed. I think that was still 2-3 drops.
That's probably even better because you can pretty much get the pair that you want, and then you can just play. It's maybe not better, like having a 4, 2 4s is probably better than a 3, like unless you triple and then you get a 4 that way. But like you're gonna lose the early game anyway, so the damage isn't that relevant in my opinion. And then you get 2 4 drops, and then you can pass both of the 4s and the 3 to one player, and then they just have a nuts board that probably beats everyone. And then you can focus on scaling or whatever, or supporting or playing Scav. Because like I think a lot of times, one person gets something crazy, and then the other person hopefully the crazy person will be generous and give them back, like here, have some fun later on, or you just play Scav and like hope you can kill 2 minions or something. Hopefully you kill a board, but like 2 minions is the goal sometimes. So yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna stop asking duos questions, but Collins, we're gonna have to. You say you play a lot of duos. We're gonna have to have you back on to specifically talk about duo strategy, because I think that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's something I've talked about a lot, right? Especially with my duo partner, right? You do end up just basically talking to a strategy the whole run. So we're pretty knowledgeable about talking and like sharing like some of the good stuff, but it does take a while to like figure out a meta, and especially because new metas like they will kind of patch the broken stuff. I think in duos a lot of things go under the radar unless you're like telling them, "Hey, this is busted," you know. So you have, you get a little longer of a leeway on like abusing broken things, but you know, it still takes a while to figure out like all the new combos that start existing with the new mechanics and stuff.
Yeah, there's been too many times in duos where I've looked and seen like I don't understand how they got these minions.
I'm
Like
sorry.
they're on tier 3 and tier 4, and there's 2 golden 6s on their board. I'm like, what happened? How?
Yeah. I mean, usually the mechanics have something stupid. There's so many stupid mechanics that can give you a 6 drop. So you have to like look at like what's their trinket, what's their quest, you know, how do they do it? Did they also like there's this like you can get golden 6 drop dragons now out of nowhere, you know, like
yes.
So it's a lot easier to be like it's just some BS.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got that trinket. And I didn't realize it was an actual card in the shop until like 3 turns later when it rolled there. I'm like, oh, this is something I'm going to get baited by.
Yeah.
Speaking
it's
of
a
trinkets,
lot easier in duos too to just hold that. Like
So speaking of trinkets, has there been a good strategy you've seen for trinkets this season? I know in the past you could really guide towards a trinket. It was very weighted towards what your board was. It feels like it sounded like they dropped that some this season, but there's still a little bit of that there if you want to lean into something.
Usually one of the options will be based on your board. Usually, and you'll need 2 of the same type for it to be active, and then it's if you have more than 2, it's whatever you have the most of. So, and that can include normal minions or neutral minions too. So there are some trinkets that buff neutral minions, but those are usually not the bonus. But basically, you want to figure out what's in the lobby. This is for duo specifically. It's always like what's in the lobby. What's the best comp possible? Period. And then how do I play that best comp possible? Period. And then we work together for someone to be playing that best comp possible. Then the other guy either plays scam if they're unlucky, or second best comp, or third, whatever is like whatever you triple into, you know, is essentially the strategy. But you want someone to be playing whatever the best thing is. Because in duos, you just have more resources than in solos, and you have the time to do it because you're seeing more options overall. So, and the opponents will be doing the same, right? So if you go for second best comp, you're going to lose the best comp. And if you want to be climbing, you have to be winning, right? So you got to aim for the best every time. So that's like the main strategy. In terms of using the mechanics, if the best comp involves a trinket, like you want to shoot for that, but you just can't kill yourself doing that. That's the issue, right? Where you can try to force, like, my duo partner doesn't do this as much anymore, but he used to just roll it down for the best comp. Like, he would go to 4, roll it down for the best comp, and then if he hits it, we win. If he doesn't, you know, it's a harder game. Doesn't mean we lose, but it's a harder game, you know? So, it's tough because like I don't like playing defensive and having to like be strong. You know, I like to just level it and then die at my own time. But if he's rolling it down, then I have to be strong. Right? So I have to stay down too and like, you know, protect the board, the health total. So, but
our Discord
it is a strategy that people can do, but you have to be very able to. Once you see the direction, immediately switch and be
at least I'm not
be strong
like
1 or 2 turns. So. It's a tough way to play, but it's one of the ways to find success if you can like go from no board to extremely strong board in like 1.
I will open up a ticket with Riverside tomorrow.
You'll what?
I will open up a ticket with Riverside.
Yeah.
Okay. I changed my browser, so I want to see if that does anything. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Who knows?
You still look and sound great.
Good. I mean, I fixed the settings to be the same, so I hope so.
I don't remember where we were in the middle of that conversation.
All right, so we might as well just move on to the next part. So,
Lovely.
so again, we will focus mostly on standard battlegrounds. We'll have you back on to really focus on duos. But if someone's new to battlegrounds or they just really can't figure it out, what should a player do in the first few turns? What should they be thinking about? How should they be planning their turns?
First couple of turns are, I mean, there's two ways. Okay, there's two ways of approaching the early turns in duos in particular. The first turns is either do I want to be supporting my teammate or do I want to be like the carry? Because I think the
no. Duos next turn. We're just talking about standard this time. Standard.
Regular battlegrounds, normal battlegrounds, or are we talking standard? Because I don't have help.
Normal battlegrounds.
Okay.
Normal straight up battlegrounds.
Okay. First of all, you got to look at what's in the minion shop. This works in both modes, anyways. You got to look at what's in the minion top, and then what are like your favorites to play in terms of like what do you like to play, what are you good at, and then figuring out how do I get there and what key pieces am I looking for those comps, right? So if you want to play like some elemental stuff, right? Like what are the key pieces? Are they on tier 4, tier 5, tier 6, right? If they're on tier 4, then you want to get to tier 4 early so you can hit those and then get there. If you're tier 5, you either want to level triple into the 5, or you want to stabilize and then level to 5 and then roll it that way. And 6s, you want to triple into the 6, or at 6s you kind of need like trinket help if you want to like just get 6s randomly, like, oh, maybe the trinket will give me that, so maybe I want an elemental trinket to support me, so I need to have early elemental to open up that line, that kind of thing, right? But you have to be planning, right? So turn 1, right, you might have like a really good tempo minion, or you might have an elemental, and you're like, if I want elemental trinket, I might actually buy the elemental, because then it opens up the line of getting the most elementals in your line, so that you can open up the elemental trinket and it can go from there. So like those turn 1s do matter a lot, where some people are like not thinking about their turn 1. They're just like, I always take the dragon because the dragon's the highest power output, but maybe you want the naga because the naga is just as powerful, but then opens up the naga line if you want to play nagas. I'm not saying you should play nagas per se, but like, it's something to think about. And then usually you can go 3-on-3, or you can go to 2 and like stabilize. But if you go to 2 on stabilize, you might still level to 3 on turn, I think it's turn 4, right? Yeah, on turn 4, like it'd be 5 gold to level, and then you have like 1 gold left over. Like I think a lot of people, if they're new, they'll level to turn 3 on turn 6, right? Which is like 4 to 3. But a lot of people will actually level a turn earlier, because then you can just level again in solos, right? You can just level that turn, because I think tier 3 is like the weakest tier overall out of all of them in terms of like the quality of minions versus the time investment or money investment. So if you can skip that one, that's usually something good, unless you have like there are some strategies on tier 3, but they're more niche anyway. So generally it's like figuring out what you want to play and how to level to the curves that you want. I think those are like the things you want to focus on in the early game, and making sure you don't die. Though in solos it's a lot easier because you have that like break point, like you can't take more than 5 and then more than 10. So even if you aren't particularly strong, like you go straight to 4, like you'll take 10. So it's not as punishing, where in duos and stuff you'll take 15 if you're super weak.
So really try to like level as quickly as you can for the most part.
If you don't get a good shop, I think level if you don't get a good shop. Like if you get a shop that's really powerful, that is like, oh, this will win me the fights for sure, you should take that shop, because you're not guaranteed a good shop if you level, right? But if the cards are bad, then I think leveling is what you gotta do, because just don't take bad cards. Like if you know the cards are bad, don't take them. Like you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose faster if you take bad cards than just level and then looking for better cards as you level. So the advice is more like if your shop is full of bad stuff, don't take it and just level, versus level as fast as possible. Like if you see a good shop, like take the good shop.
Okay, but if I'm a new or beginner player,
How do
I know what a nice shop is?
Yeah. So I mean that's like another part of the game, like learning what is good and what's bad, right? And there are some ways to do that, right? Maybe you'll watch other people play and see what they take, and like, oh, they're taking that because it's probably good, right? And let me see why. It's like something I do when I'm learning a game is I will watch somebody and then I will basically copy until I start to disagree, because if I don't know enough, you'll just copy and then that's fine, right? But then if as you play more, you come to have your own opinions, your own knowledge, and then you come to a point where you start disagreeing. But if you don't know enough, you won't know enough to disagree. So when I watch someone and then I have opinions that I'm like, oh, why are they doing this? That's when I know like I've gotten enough knowledge where I can actually stand on my own, have my own opinions. Because usually if I'm watching a new game, I'm just like, I don't know what they're doing. Probably better than what I'm thinking. But then once I'm like, oh, why are they doing this? Because this doesn't make sense in this like idea of my head, whatever. Then I think that's when I have that knowledge to like play in a competitive manner. But until I have those opinions of my own, I really would just default to what other people are doing because I don't have enough knowledge to argue. Like why are they doing this? I don't know. It's probably good. They have hundreds more hours than me. They probably know what they're doing more than what random Joe Smuck is saying. So until I can argue, I don't know anything.
So how important is it to game plan your game around your hero power or your hero?
It depends on the hero. Some heroes are just tempo heroes where they just give you extra health to figure out a game plan, and then some heroes are very, this is I'm playing Phelan, right? I need the 6-drop needs to matter for me to go to 6, right? If I get a 6-drop on Phelan and it's not good, then 6 drops. I don't even have to go to 6. I don't even need that hero because it's not good enough for me to spend that resources. So it just depends on the hero. Some heroes do care. Like Reno, you kind of need an early triple into something that you can hero power in Reno, right? But if you're playing like some, Wagtog or whatever that just gives you tempo or so, then like it doesn't matter what you're doing with the thing, as long as you have minions of different types to get the buff in the early game. Then you save some health, and then you maybe can level up earlier with a little bit higher health total, and that's like what Wagtog will give you. So the hero powers kind of matter. Then depends on the hero, but it's not particularly game changing unless it's very hero dependent.
So when should a player decide to lock in on a tribe or a strategy?
I think in most like solo games, as soon as you get a decent comp, because solos are different in duos. I think in duos you can look for the best thing possible because you have the time. You see so many more options. But in solos, if you get something playable, I think usually that's good enough to lock in. Like if dragons are good, or dragons might be weak or whatever, right? But then you get 2 Caligoses in the shop, yeah, you take that. Like that's good enough to win. Whereas like normally I don't care about a Caligos or so, but like if like you get 2 6-drop triples, you hit them and then they're both Caligoses or whatever, then like, okay, that's something to do. So as long as you get like a winning comp, I think at the highest levels that changes, where at the highest levels people have the time to like switch compositions, and they can like go from one comp into another comp in one turn, right? But like I think if you care enough about this advice, that is not something you should do. Like if you're listening to this, then that's not something you should think about. Whereas if you get something that's playable, that's strong, you should just lock that in. Like, okay, I got 2 of a scaling thing, 2 elemental scalers, right? Let's go for that. Or my trinket is a Nomi trinket or something. Let's play some elementals, that kind of thing. So as long as you get something that can win or can do well to top 4, then you should pretty much just lock that in and go from there.
Okay, but what if I'm like, let's say I take a Soul Rewinder, I guess early Soul Rewinder, I'm excited, but then I can't find any other pieces to go with it. I'm getting the wrong demons, or I'm not getting demons at all.
Mhm.
When should I give up on that, and when should I pivot, or should I just keep trying to, I get the card that I think is the card that's supposed to help me move in that direction, but then I'm not finding the support.
So usually the scaling options scale regardless of whether you find the pieces or not. Like if you get a Caligos, like you roll a shop, you get a trigger. Like you're gonna see battle cries. If you get like the elemental, the elemental thing, you play the battle cry, you get the trigger. You'll find like a Rylak or so, then you go. But if you don't have the Rylak, then you don't have the comp, right? So you're not in the comp until you get the piece that automatically scales. Like if there's like the demon that scales tavern spells end of turn, right? Like you don't need your Kari, but it will scale your comp, right? But if you have one of those, or that under Kari or 2 of the dragon, right, then you have the comp. But it's usually getting the second copy that gives you enough power to be competitive, right? The one copy gives you like an idea, the second copy gives you the direction in terms of. So if you have the Soul Rewinder, you're not in the comp yet, you need the second piece that lets you scale. Then once you get the second piece, then you're in the comp. So you may I'm playing elementals, but you don't actually have enough. You might just have one of the pieces, you need the second piece. So you're still looking for things, you're not in the direction. But as soon as you get the second piece, maybe like brand plus something, then okay, now you're in the direction. So you're maybe locking in too early is what it is probably is. Because if you are actually locked into the direction, you don't have to worry about finding the pieces because you're already there. But it's maybe like you hit one of the pieces and you think you're there, but you're not. Like for the back-to-back, there's the one that doubles your triggers, and then there's one that replays your last played tavern spell, right? You need both of them, then you're in the comp. If you got one of them, you're like, oh, I'm back-to-back, you're not in there because you don't scale fast enough. But once you get both, then you're like, okay, I'm actually playing the comp. So it's getting the second piece, I would say, is the key one that actually allows you just to say, oh, I'm actually in the comp, versus you got one of the pieces, but then you're rolling it down for the second piece. Like you're not there until you get the second piece, then you get the second piece, then you're there. So I think that's figuring out when you're actually in the comp and when you're not, and you're looking for that second key piece to get you there, is probably the advice I would give that person.
Okay, but to break that down further, you've mentioned a lot of time when you're in the comp, when you're in the comp, when you're in the comp. How does a player know a comp, or they're in a comp, or how do they know?
So there are some. I would say like there are 2 ways to know. Like sometimes you can look at like resources online or so, like HS Replay and stuff like that will have like comp suggestions for solos and duos, and you can kind of take a look at that, or you can watch other people play and see like what are they playing, what are they winning with, right? Like the nice thing about the internet is like you can watch a lot of high level players for very cheap or free, right? And then you can like see what they play with and see what is like strong in their minds, and then you can like kind of take that and extrapolate like, okay, they've played 10 games, 5 of them were pirates, there was 2 elementals, there was 1 demon, and there was like a Naga and like some random dragon comp, right? So like then you can say like they really like pirates is their favorite, that must be tier S for them. Then they'll play the other stuff if they see it, right? And then if they're playing pirates, they look for this card, and then once they have this card, then they'll look for this, and then they go crazy or whatever. And then if they're playing dragons, they'll look for the egg or whatever, and then they'll hit a something, and then they'll go from there, right? So you can kind of see like what other people are doing, or you can look at resources online to see like what are the comps for the particular metas. So you kind of need that knowledge. It's hard to never play Battlegrounds, join a first game, and then like know exactly what to do. It's not going to happen. Yeah, you need some insider knowledge somewhere. So you kind of have to make that leap of like, I'm going to learn. I'm going to spend a day learning about what the comps are for this meta. Then I will try to put that knowledge into practice. So you can't really just, it's not tic-tac-toe where you can kind of guess and get there. You kind of need that knowledge of like looking it up or watching people and then going from there. So it's not as free. You have to like put in some time effort, but you can definitely get there if you spend some time looking up comps and stuff.
Yeah, I think we need to do that for duos or Pylet. I don't expect me to actually do the effort, so I'll let you do it. So actually a good question from Pudis in chat, and this is something I think we all struggle with. How do you decide what to sell to make your cycle spot? Because sometimes you have twos of everything, and then it's like, well, and I have I get locked up sometimes saying I don't know what to sell in order to cycle or to find the thing. How do you kind of get to that?
There's two different times when you need to make that decision. One is if you're in trouble, or one is when you're not. So if you're in trouble and you're going to die, then you just have to sell whatever what's your scaling. You have to bite the bullet and say, I just need to survive, and I'm not going to be able to win. Now, there are some times when if you sell your scaling, you're not going to win anyway, so you just have to keep your scaling and sell like your second weakest card, right? But normally if it's like, if you're like fighting for top 4 and you need to win this fight to get top 4 and that matters a lot, then sometimes you just have to sell your skilling and like play as strong as possible. It doesn't matter. Now, if you're not in a dying spot, then you just sell your weakest strong minion. You keep all your scaling and you sell whatever your weakest strong. Like there are times when I'm selling like my 200 because it's my weakest strong minion, and then like I don't care because your scaling will give you way more stats than that in the course of a turn or two. So you just have to be able to bite the bullet. Now, it looks weird, right? Because you'll have like a 5/5, a 6/6, and a brand. And then you'll have like a 400, a 200, and some other thing. And then you're selling your 200, and your chat's looking at you weird, like, what the hell? You're going to die. But then like in a turn, you have like 1,000 stat minion. Like that 200 does nothing. So I think in a lot of cases, it's just whatever your weakest strong minion is, that's not your scaling. But it just looks weird if you haven't done it a lot to sell. You have like 200 minions and you sell one of your 200 minions, you keep your 5/5. It just looks weird, But like that's going to give you more stats over the course of the game. So you just have to do it. And that's like the tough thing, I guess, for people, especially if they're not super used to like how powerful your minions can get through scaling.
Do you feel like that there are some cards that people can fall into like as traps? Like
Absolutely.
You get the one time, sometimes I feel like what's the pirate that it gains plus damage +4 for every golden minion you have or something like that. There's always some minions
I know what you're talking about.
It always feels like you're like, hey, this is a gold grubber. I feel like I'm getting this going. This feels really good, but then it's not going to scale as much. But I've already invested so much in it. How do you kind of get out of those traps?
I think a lot of traps for new players are flat scaling cards. So cards that don't grow over time in terms of how fast they scale, but they have like this huge flat bonus that you can trigger instantly, and then like it looks good, they feel strong, but then in 3 turns, whoever's playing like a scaling comp will just outpace you completely. So there's a lot of those in the game. They're good for getting tempo, or they're good if you're not doing anything to scale them and you can have them on the board. But you have to always be looking out for cards that scale exponentially over time versus flat scaling. So if you have a card that doesn't have any way of getting stronger as the game progresses, those are usually bait cards that can look good but will eventually fall out of favor once people start having these stronger comps. So that's always something to look at. Like the early game, whatever's the strongest is usually what's good for you. But once you get into the mid game, tier 4 or higher, you want to be looking like, how does this scale over time? Does it actually get stronger over time, or is it flat scaling? And then you want to lean into the cards that get stronger over time. That's usually what the higher level people are going to gravitate towards, versus things that scale like 4/4 a turn, like especially like end of turn stuff. Like if it's like 4/4 a turn, in 2 turns, right, it's 8/8 or so, or something that scales 1/1, then 2/2, then 3/3, then 4/4, then 5/5. Once you're at like 10/10, right, like that's like 3 turns worth of progress in a single action. versus having to wait. Even if you get like a Drakari or whatever, like even if you double that to 8/8, that guy plays one card, he's getting 20/20 or something like that. You're always going to lose to the exponential scaling compared to the ones that are flat. So that's the difference to look out for the bait cards, the cards that are flat versus the cards that are exponential.
Okay, well, I've been playing the bait cards, and I realize that my opponent is scaling faster than I am. What can I do?
You play scam. Sadly, it's unfortunate. I don't love doing it, but that's the way to go. If you don't know what to do, what you want to do is you want one big minion to put in the back to kill whatever someone can deal with, but then the rest of your cards are poison or Leroy or the 110 that can scale attack. Any of those cards. Those cards trade 1-for-1 for most things. Like Divine Shield can break that, and so, but they can deal with problems that nothing else can deal with. That you even if your opponent has 6 100s, how can you win? Well, you can make 6 101s, or you could play 5 Leroys, or two poison minions and 2 Leroys and the 110, and then that will beat that. No matter how big they make it, you will always win. That kind of thing. So if you don't have a good comp, you can just take a Leroy, and that's why it's always good. Like if you're new, to always pick them up. Like just always take them if you're new, because they'll always give you value. You're never gonna be like, oh, this blows me up. There are some matchups that are bad. So like if beasts are in, if undead are in, like those lose in priority because beast comps will make a ton of small things and they can trade 1-for-1 or so. Undeads do the same thing. They can trade 1-for-1. So if those minion types are in, then they lose priority. But if they're not in, then you can pretty much always take a Leroy, always take a poison card, and you'll get some value out of that. So if you don't know what you're doing and you haven't found a direction, pick the poison cards and you'll do well.
Now, do you feel like people level too aggressively or level too slowly? Mostly if they
I level too fast, I would say is what I've been known for. So I'm a little biased, but I'm always usually the fastest leveler in the lobby. Now, is that always good? I wouldn't say so, especially if you don't know what you're looking for. Because the issue with leveling fast is that you get punished super quickly. So you'll go from 30 HP to 0 HP in 2 turns because you'll take 15, right? And if you can't go from 30 to 15 into stabilize, you die. Now, going from 30 to 15 into stabilize is very hard to do, so it's not something I would recommend all the time. But the best way to do it is to practice, right? So you get better by leveling and then figuring out like how fast you can go, how strong you can be, and how what you can get away with. I would say like most people don't level aggressively enough, but it's because it's hard to do. Because what will happen is you'll level aggressively, you'll die instantly. You're like, that was a bad idea. Let me not do that again. Right now, I level aggressively, I die instantly, and I'm like, how do I die slightly slower and then win? My takeaway is not that I level too fast. My takeaway is I didn't play well enough while leveling. I got to figure out how to do that better. So I think if you can figure that out, then you have a really high skill or skill that you can use to beat the people that are leveling slightly slower than you. But you have to be able to stabilize very quickly, and that's the tough part. So I would say like people don't level enough, but I do think it's the harder skill to master, and that's why people don't do it.
Speaking of that, one thing I think is really kind of hard to wrap your head around is some people are always trying to go for the first place where they probably should be trying to like figure out how to stabilize for between 2 and 4. Like, how do you kind of approach that? Whereas like, if you want to climb, should you be trying to go for those big boisterous finishes where you get first place, or should you really be trying to get just 2s and 4s and grind it out?
I think it depends on your skill level. I think as a new or a learning player, like top 4 is usually where you want to be because you're gaining points and you're doing well. And I don't think you have to worry about first place all the time. It's not really necessary. Like, but the thing is, if you're like super high level, like Chief and Beater and stuff like that, you're losing points for second. Like this is in duos, if I get second, I'm losing points. So you have to go for first because the EV is down if you're not going for first. So the mind shift changes where you're actually just playing for first because everything else is basically failure. Basically, if you don't get first, you're losing points. So it's better if you don't play. You either play for first or you don't play at all. Is how you climb. So your mindset changes a lot. But I think if you're learning, you should just go for top 4, and it's a lot riskier, right? So the good players will usually look for a comp that will top 4, and then once they're in that position, then they'll say, how do I switch this top 4 comp into a top 1 comp? And that might just be either I need to switch the whole comp or I need to play around my opponent. Maybe they're playing a big cleave. Well, let's get a Leroy. Let's put a defensive taunt into a Leroy, and then that'll deal with that problem. So you can take a lot of these top 4 comps into top 1 comps with knowledge, and stuff like that. But it's hard to know how to do that until you've played enough games and you have that mindset shift. So I wouldn't really worry too much about going for first, because you could have a first place comp potentially, but still lose out on the matchup or lose out on the RNG or lose out on positioning or these like small minute things that you don't really think about. You're like, oh, this is the best comp ever, but then you die to a random cleave that kills you, and you're like, oh, I didn't play around that. So I just think you gotta worry about getting the basics down, which is like figuring out these top 4 comps that you can consistently run without dying, and then once you get to that position, then you can start worrying about getting to top first consistently and things like that.
When is it too late to pivot?
It's never too late. It could be the final turn and you could pivot if you need to, because like you play 6 poisons, like that's gonna be the lot of counts. And like if your opponent is bigger than you, then that's actually the way to go, right? So you can really never pivot too late as long as you're pivoting correctly, right? If you know like what your opponent is doing, right, then you make adjustments to try to beat them, and that might be selling your biggest minion. Like that's happened a lot where I have 1,000, and they have 100,000. I'm just like, well, my 1,000 doesn't. Let's play some poisons, that kind of thing. Or like they have like a leaper comp and stuff. Okay, I need a Wind Fury cleave somehow. Let's or 2 cleaves. Like a 50-50 cleave is gonna do better than my 1,000 into leapers. So let's just sell that 1,000 and play a 50-50 cleave in a pivot turn. So it's just figuring out what you need for the matchup, especially in the top 4 position, when you know what your opponents will be, and then pivoting correctly, whether it's scam or cleave or having taunts or having like a very weak taunt or whatever you need. So I think it's never too late to pivot.
All right. So this next question is from listener Pylet 712. When is it too late to take Patient Scout?
Probably turn 4 and above. I'd say like turn 3 you can take it. Turn 4 is too late. I know that's not the answer you're looking for. That's probably the answer.
It's the answer I agree with, though.
Yeah.
Turn 3 is yes. Turn 4 is just like, I need something really, really good with this to justify this. Turn 5, it's a cycle card if you're running something like that.
Yep.
All right. So we have access to the same pool of cards. What makes the top players better than everybody else?
Usually they are quicker, faster, more knowledgeable. They know the tricky compositions. They have their play styles that work, and then they can pivot very quickly. So they're usually able to identify what are the right buys and what are the not right buys. They will identify what's the strongest thing in the lobby, and then they're able to identify how do I beat my particular opponent. So something you'll notice with top players is like they'll get into a bad spot where like, oh, the opponent has something nuts, and then they'll find a line. Like they'll find a positioning line or a direction line that actually can still compete, like and turn like a potentially 99% loss into like a 50-50, where it's like, how the hell did they do that? And it's because they know what wins the games, right? Like they can break it down to like, okay, stats beat other stats, poison beats stats. multiple minions beat poison and stuff like that. So if they're playing a bunch of poisons, then you need to play multiple minions. If they're playing a bunch of stats, you play poison. If they're playing a bunch of poison, a bunch of multiple minions, then you play huge stats at the end. So they have like that rock paper scissors answer, and then they have a way of consistently getting their board state to be able to deal with all three of those options. So they'll have a big minion plus a poison for threats plus multiple minions at the end. So people put something with a menace or a rock, or they'll put like a minion that summons another minion, or they'll put a like a base skill that summons a poison at the end, or some tricky thing, right? So that they'll deal with that. And if you have if they have something, then they'll cleave you. If you don't have if you're weak to cleave, they'll cleave you. If you're not weak to cleave, they won't cleave you. They'll sell their cleave because they know it's not very useful. So they just have a lot of knowledge of like figuring out what's strong, and then they have a good ability to execute on their ideas in their head, right? Because you're like, oh, if I get this and I do this and I'll win, right? But then they're like, if I don't get this, I'll do something else and I'll still win. And if I don't get that thing, I'll do a third plan, and then eventually I'll hit my second plan, and then I'll win that way. So they just have a lot of safety nets consistently, and then they know what's good, and then they can transition very quickly if they find exactly what they need. So those are like the things that make top players.
I noticed you mentioned menace, which you derived into your Magic the Gathering, which is fine. So one thing I know that I am particularly bad at is I have a full board of minions, and it's turn. Maybe I leveled the turn before, and maybe I have like a beast comp or an elemental comp or whatever. And the next turn, I find I didn't buy anything because I cycled through all my shop trying to find something to increase the comp that I have, but I failed to find anything. Have I messed up?
It depends if you could be doing something else with your turn. So sometimes like the only thing you need to get stronger is you triple your Titus. So you roll 10 times, you look for Titus, you didn't hit Titus. Well, I mean, that's the only thing you needed to do. So you didn't mess up there. But sometimes you have other options, and like, okay, you do have a beast comp, but do you get outscaled? What do I actually be needing for? Maybe I need to be looking for some scam at the end. So you're rolling it down, you're looking for Titus, but okay, there's a scam. Maybe I pick one up and then keep rolling it down. So it's not necessarily you're messing up. It's like figuring out if you have other options besides like looking for triples or looking for your particular scaling pieces, and if you identify, oh, there are other things you can do, then you could think about it. It doesn't mean you change your play, but you at least want to put in your head like, oh, if I see this, then I can spend some time thinking about whether it's worth to do, or whether I need a level, for something, or whether I'm looking for a particular spell, like maybe the put something to 1 might be needed to increase your odds, stuff like that. So it's just figuring out like, is there other things I could be doing with this gold versus am I just rolling for triples?
Do you think people sleep on spells too much? Like if you're like trying to find minion, like the situation that I said, I'm cycling through, I'm trying to find more elementals for my build or beasts for my build. Should I be like stopping and be like, well, this spell gives my minions +2/+2, that could be useful, or whatever? Do people kind of pass on spells too much?
Nah, I actually don't think you should be buffing your shop +2/+2. I think the spells that people don't buy enough are the ones that generate random minions of your type. I think those ones are usually pretty cheap, right? They're like 2 costs versus 3 of buying it. And then like hitting a random minion of your type actually hits quite often an amount of times. And if you're paying 2 to get a random minion, like the opportunity cost is 1 gold because you can always sell it, and sometimes it's not even 1 gold because sometimes you'll get like an economy minion. But then the upside is you hit your key piece, right, or so, where you wouldn't be able to get that in any other way. So I think those ones are maybe something people should be looking out for more in their games. But I think scaling, like tavern scaling spells, are usually good in the early to mid game when you're trying to get a decent board, like while you're trying to get like your 7 board for tempo. Then once you get there, as long as you're not like taking tons of damage, you probably don't need to waste your gold on.
What's your favorite spell?
The one that gives my teammate something to do, probably, because usually you so usually like the issue at least is like when one person has something to do and then my teammate is like doesn't have any direction. And I like spells that can like generate a minion or pass a minion or something that can like give them like, okay, here's a good card, and then hopefully they can do something from that. So those are ones that are pretty good. Other than that, maybe changing my hero power is pretty fun, but sometimes that's busted as hell. So I don't know. But like my favorite one is the busted one. It feels weird, but like changing your hero power is pretty fun, especially when you're like Reno. You hero power Reno, and then you change it to something also busted. You're like, this isn't fair.
So, do you have any final advice for people that are new to or trying to get better at Battlegrounds?
It's never like the best players are always learning. I would say, even if you've played a lot, you're like, I know what to do. It's always good to like just watch someone and see if they're making different decisions than you and why they're doing it, because like that can open your eyes on like different lines that you never consider. Because very quickly humans get stuck in their own ways. Like even I like will be a level when I don't need to, right? And then I'll talk to my team and be like, hey dude, why did you level here? It's like, it's because I always level. And it's like, it's wrong though. And you could argue like, okay, yeah, I could do this, but like he's right, it's wrong to level and I shouldn't have leveled, but I did it anyways because that's what I always do, that kind of thing. But if you watch other people, no,
you just called out Pylet.
It's fair to just like watch and see like, hey, I may be a top 10 player at the game and be like, but still I still have a lot to learn. So just watching other people and like seeing like how they play, especially people you respect, always good to see their mindset of things and like see like their plans, because like so often the best way I've learned is like my opponent beat me with something I've never seen before, and I'm like, what the hell did they do? And then I'm just like, I want to do that, and then you try it once and like, this is amazing, and then it's like, that's not my plan, like, that's not my comp that I made. I just watched someone kill me with it, and that's like how I'm getting better, so you can get that same experience but without losing the LP or the MMR by watching someone play and like seeing what they do. So I just think it's always good to be learning, because that's what the best players are doing. They're always learning and watching and trying to figure out how to get that edge. So if you want to get to that level, you also want to get that mindset as well.
I'm going to correct you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You should be saying that's where us best players, or the best players like me, are getting the
some matters. I agree with that. I wouldn't say particularly I'm at that level at this current time, but
who's your favorite streamer that's not you?
Probably
not
Shady. Okay, that's not. He was my favorite streamer besides my favorite streamer, huh? That's a great question. Let me think. I don't know. Shady's the easy one because we go way back, but there's a lot of really good people, to be fair. So it's kind of hard to have that second place in there, because I feel kind of bad, giving out a name and be like, yeah. There's just a lot of
my two favorite are Swaybe and Happy Bear.
Yeah, those are good. Happy Bears would be up there for me as well. Sway Bay is also good, but I've watched some more Happy Bear. I actually don't know who I've watched a lot. Like it'd be interesting to look at like the Twitch VODs and see who in particular is like super up there.
All right, Paul, you got any final questions before we wrap the show up?
I don't think so.
All right, so we have a very, very important question to ask you, Mr. Collins.
Hello.
What is your favorite dessert?
So, favorite dessert is probably fruits. And I know you're gonna be like, what? But I think fruits are a dessert in my opinion. They go in your body the same way. So.
No, I have long since never yuck anybody's yum. If somebody likes something, good for them. So good. I'm not really big on the fruits, but I'm glad you are.
Fruits are the king. Yeah, fruits are just the best. I'm currently looking at who I'm most subscribed to answer the question.
Okay.
And there's like a couple of people up there. But I have like over 100 subs over the years, so I'm just checking.
I miss Alyssa. She was my favorite. Like
Alyssa.
besides Webe, she was my favorite.
Yeah, Alyssa's really cool. So I have my duo partner that's Sapphire X. I gotta give him the shout out. I have Fun Goose, which is a Dead by Daylight streamer, but he's a really cool guy, and I've met him at TwitchCon, so I'll give him the shout out there. There's Raphael P, which is a good friend of mine, but he used to play Hearthstone, but he moved. He switched games. There's Redbeard, good arena streamer. Dread, same thing, good arena streamer. Those are fun guys.
Judge?
Yeah, Dreads, yeah.
Friend of the show, Judge?
Judge, yes, he has Judge as well, yeah. We have Hopper Bear is also up there in my sub, so I'll give it. Team America is also up there as well.
Team America, yeah.
And then like Grinning Goats, do you remember Aduata and Merps? I don't know if you
Yep.
Okay, yeah. They when I was like returning back to, or like just starting out, they were like really helpful for my streaming as well. So those were pretty. So yeah.
Nice. Well, if you'd like to support the show, you can do so by joining our Patreon over at patreon.com/breadandbutterhs. You get access to the raw audio early, a members channel on Discord. You can help shape the episodes by asking questions. If you'd like to help in a non-financial way, you can let people know about the show. Let us know how we're doing. Suggest future guests. It's always good. And if you leave us a review, it really helps. 5-star review on Spotify, or actual written review on Apple Music, if you can figure that out. But, just anywhere you can like give us a little nudge, it helps. And honestly, just say, hey, tell a friend you like Hearthstone, check it out, and it helps us. And you can also find us at BreadAndButterHS on YouTube. Mr. Collins, where can people find you on the social medias?
Educated Collins, and Twitch is _Collins, just because I don't know. I think I don't know why, but I think the other name is taken. I think it may have been me, and I lost the thing, but I don't know why. I don't know why I can't switch it to normal, not _. But I've given up at this point, so it is whatever. And then at YouTube, I have a bunch of different YouTube, but it's like based on the game. So for Hearthstone, it's Educated Collins HS, and so and then I will say, ever since I switched the browser, it hasn't crashed, or so it was the browser.
No. Yeah. It must be something with your Chrome. Maybe a bad extension.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I'm using Edge now, so I never use Edge, but it's working, so I'll give it credit where it's due. So good for them.
Well, maybe because you're using a Microsoft product onto a Hearthstone Blizzard Microsoft company.
Who knows?
Podcast.
Who knows what it is? Yeah, but it's working, so I'll take it. But that's what you find.
Pylet, where can people find you outside of your local Lorcana shop?
You can find me Pylet712. That's Pylet on Twitter, Blue Sky, and then multiple Hearthstone Discords as well.
And you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, and many other places at titosantanahs. Especially YouTube. We've been putting a lot of more videos out. Love to know what you think. Like and subscribe, as the kids say. Collins, you got anything you'd like to promote or shout out this week?
I hope everyone has a good weekend and takes care of themselves and the people in their loved ones. That's what I want to shout out. Happiness in this time.
Yes.
Fantastic. How about yourself, Pylet?
Yeah, I'm going to shout out my local Lorcana crew. Haven't been able to really play at all for the past 2 to 3 months, and it was great to be able to see a bunch of them and chat with them and whatnot. We even had a group at the store yesterday. There was none of the 10 stores in their like close city was holding anything, so they found ours and they're like, let's road trip. So they came like 2.5 hours as a group, and it was a good time. It was a good group.
And I'll shout out Schmoopy Daddy this week, who just recently hit Twitch partner. Good for him. He's a hard worker. He's very entertaining and just generally good person. So congratulations, Schmoopy. Looking forward to having you back on the show. But anyway, guys, I think we're toast. We'll see you.
I have one.
Oh.
I have one final thing that
Oh, look at this.
Your Lord Counter reminded me of. So there's a Magic format 2-headed dragon where you play with a teammate. Right?
Oh yeah.
So I went randomly because I was looking for a random pre-release, but then it was like 2-headed, and I got paired with like somebody I didn't know, and then there was this one group. I usually do well, but this one group, they beat me, and I was like, oh, how dare they beat me? I got to come back with a friend and beat them. So I came back with a friend. I went. We got to the finals again, fighting them again, and then they beat me again. So I was like, oh my god, So I was like, hey, I need the best drafters. Come with me. So
Okay.
I brought like a very strong player, a ringer of sorts, And we went yesterday, and I was going, and then this guy, like, we got into the same match again, and this guy just proceeded to carry, just like made like 12 horses or something, and then attacked for like 40 damage. And I was just like, thank you for the carry. So I finally got my revenge, 3 times the charm, So I got to have that fun there.
Very, very nice. Yeah. But anyway, guys, I think we're toast. We'll see you.
See ya.
Take care, everyone.